And to make Butch, the former Eddie Munster, feel better, we even invited former Grandpa. Al Lewis is in the front row there. And he hasn't changed a bit. You're about to find out how the world has treated this galaxy of former child stars because star-crossed kids. What happens when fame hits and runs? That's the focus of this edition of Geraldo. How does it feel, Butch, to look at Grandpa? He hasn't changed a bit, has he?
No, he hasn't. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Wild as ever.
Same laugh.
What were they like? Were they really punk brats to work with? You can tell me.
No. Well, I've been in the business, you know, since 1922. I've worked with a lot of kids. A lot of them, because of their parents, the phrase stage mother, were rotten kids to work with because their parents were rotten. Butch was the exact opposite. Butch was marvelous to work with. Butch didn't care that he was in a big series. The greatest thrill Butch used to have was when I used to bring a baseball glove, and we used to go out among the tourists and throw the baseball around. He loved that, and I loved Butch for that.
Was that the most normal thing about your life back then?
Back then, well, my stepdad was a baseball player, and I really wanted to get involved in baseball. And Al saw that I wasn't a typical kid, and he would always take the time to give me that, you know, kind of guidance that I needed outside the set. So it was wonderful.
What do you think of the new Munsters? There's a new Munsters on TV now. You're not in it, but it's on.
Well, it's pretty. It's I don't
Butch, it's
I don't like it. Thank you, Danny.
Al mentions stage parents. What was your situation? Was it your parents who dragged you kicking and screaming into show business?
No, I actually stumbled into it. My mom's girlfriend was an agent who was also Johnny Whitaker's agent, and they were looking at my sister, and for the lack of a babysitter, I wound up going up for a picture session. They took some extra pictures of me, and I got very lucky and got an interview off the bat for a movie. And then once you have a credit, the rest was fairly simple.
But did you want it? Did you like it? Did you miss a normal childhood? Did you miss playing ball?
I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't in love with it. I knew it was a temporary situation. It wasn't a career move for me. I just took it for what it was worth, enjoyed it, and then also spent my weekends being normal.
What did you spend your weekends and your weekdays doing, Cindy, after the Brady Bunch went off the air?
Susan.
Susan, sorry.
It's an easy mistake.
Susan, now Cindy again, right.
Well, during hiatus while we were filming the show, I would go back to normal school, the same public school that I had gone to all my life, and I had a very normal childhood when I wasn't working. The truth of the matter is that while I was having the normal childhood, I usually got bored and I couldn't wait for production to start up again. I kind of had two lives.
But what happened after the Brady Bunch went off the air?
Well, at first I wasn't at all broken-hearted. I thought, well, now it's a good chance to get a real normal life. And yeah, I just took it easy for a while and wasn't really concerned about pursuing acting. Then I decided, okay, maybe that's what I should do, probably out of lack of imagination, because I assumed that that's, well, of course, I'll go on with acting. And really didn't work out that well because I was typecast. And I figured out that I didn't really want it. Yeah, and I don't believe that would have kept me from going on with acting if I had really, truly wanted acting strongly. And the truth of the matter was, when I thought about it, I wasn't that crazy about it, and I started getting involved in art. And
but didn't you try a part in Divorce Court or one of those soaps?
you
played a former
clip, man,
porn
I'll
star.
kill you. Yeah, I did. That's what really convinced me that I don't want to act.
Surprised you didn't win an Emmy for that one, huh?
That's what convinced me that I was kidding myself that I wanted to act. And lo and behold, I went on this audition, and I'd always cold script read really well. And then whenever I was going back for like the second or third audition, something in the back of my head that I didn't hear consciously was saying, you're getting really close to getting this job, you better mess it up. And unfortunately, I went on this audition, I did the cold script reading, and they said, great, here's the script, you got the part. I drove home going, oh my God, I don't want this, I don't want this. Did the thing, thought it was horrible, and said, okay, time for a new career.
So what'd you do?
Well, I got involved in art, and all the luck that I didn't have in acting started happening for me with art. And my husband and I have our own company where we do design services. I'm illustrating a book. And
you're back on the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Like, not too long ago, for the first time, I publicly declared, no, I don't really want to do acting anymore. And now I have a series. So, life's great.
Are you still typecast? Will you always be Cindy?
If there's any chance that I have of becoming untypecast, it might be by going back into the fire. And
let's see what she looks like. Cindy,
oh, no.
As a mature woman.
This is Cindy at Sunrise with the live remote from the Nashville 500.
I don't think those yellow coveralls set off his blue eyes at all.
Mom, I'm on the air.
Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Sorry.
Wait, I want to ask Danny, who's now a disc jockey in Philadelphia, if the Partridge Family came back, would you be in the new, the revised?
Oh, in a heartbeat. Absolutely, I'd do it. Except this time I'd want to be Laurie.
Not David Cassidy?
Oh, no, not a chance. I want to go on and have a future, thank you.
Well, weren't you jealous that he got all the kind of the sexually oriented fan
I was 12 years old, man. Puberty was a mystery to me. It didn't really upset me.
So what happened after it went up the air to you?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody talks about television as this terribly evil, unforgiving machine. You grow up, you're a has-been, your life is over. And actually, television is very forgiving. Susan's back on television, John's back on television. I've got a radio show, for that matter. You opened Al Capone's vaults, and you still have a job.
Let's move ahead to the next guest. I was surprised you weren't in it. I hadn't seen you in years.
It's a forgiving business if you have something to offer. If you have something to offer, they'll let you do it.
But when you had that aspect of your career over, your childhood acting at least, behind you, weren't you a lost soul?
Oh, yeah. For a while, I was a real confused kid. A lot of people think you do a television show, you get, you immediately start taking drugs, or you go to jail. Wait a second, I did that.
You did both those things?
Yeah, I did.
Seriously?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
In fact, you're the only person, to my knowledge, in the history of the country ever bailed out of prison by the National Enquirer.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's true.
That story in 2 minutes. Stay with us, folks. When fame hits and runs, our focus, and we'll be right back after this. Fame hits and runs. Star-crossed kids, our focus. And we're talking about child stars who have grown up. Our panel are the lucky ones, the survivors. Unfortunately, some of the stories turn tragic, even fatal. We're going to speak soon with Johnny Whitaker, who was Jody on A Family Affair, as we mentioned. His co-star, Buffy, Anissa Jones, died from a drug overdose. Now, adding to the tragic list of former child stars is Trent Lehman, who played Butch on the show Nanny and the Professor. He hanged himself on his elementary school fence. And just a few weeks ago, we were all saddened to learn of the suicide of Rusty Hamer, the precocious actor from Make Room for Daddy, who shot himself in the head. How did you react when you first heard, Johnny, that Anissa had killed herself?
I was very fortunate. I was able to work after Family Affair quite a bit. I did Tom Sawyer, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, and did another series pilot. I was able to work after that. I was on a tour with my brothers and sisters doing a 1976 bicentennial show, and coming to the end of that, I spoke with some people, and they said, I heard that Buffy died. And as we all know, you hear everything. So-and-so is a porno star, so-and-so is this, so-and-so killed themselves, and you take it in stride. When I heard that Anissa had died, or they said Buffy, something hit me, like it's true. That night I didn't sleep very well, and I looked through every newspaper I could to see if there was any information. That morning, I happened to be in Salt Lake City. That morning, I listened to Rona Barrett tell me that Anissa Jones, Buffy, had died of a drug overdose in Oceanside, California, the day before. I froze, I got shaky and nervous, and immediately I called Les Kaufman, who happened to be the publicity director for Family Affair, and they patched me into him at Anissa Jones' mother's home in Playa del Rey. Spoke with him, and they said that, yes, it's true. I said, is there anything I can do? What happened? And there wasn't anything, of course, you can do at that point. But the story goes that Anissa, when we turned 18, we got a little bit of money. Anissa Jones had that money. She had just turned 18. There was a Dr. Feelgood in Oceanside, California, who would give drugs to anybody who was 18 and had the money. And Anissa was in the wrong crowd. But the sad thing is that Anissa's friends, which I don't call friends, found her dead at 2 o'clock in the morning. They left and didn't call the police until 6 a.m. Her original time of death was known to be about 4:30. They left her there dead, got away, and later on called back. She could have been alive. There's a hospital right around the corner from where she died.
However tragic drug overdoses are, the whole drug scene is, do you think that anything having to do with her show business career, her being a child star, led to her substance abuse?
Who can say?
Can you say, Danny?
I can take a guess, an educated
In your own
guess.
life, yeah.
I would say that half the country has a serious drug problem. If you ask this panel who does drugs, who has drugs, has done drugs, and who doesn't, you'll come up with the same varied answer as you would just taking a poll on the streets. I think that the fact that I happened to do drugs in my early 20s was just the fact that I was in my early 20s in Los Angeles. I don't think it had anything more to do with television.
Not the fact that you were a star, that people were clapping you on the back,
it was,
you had money?
As a matter of fact, it was by that time I was a bartender. And that was a real hassle. I mean,
well, was that a come down? Maybe.
Oh,
I'm not going to be an amateur shrink here. But...
No, it was absolute come down. When you have people, screaming at you, "Hey, Partridge, you're not on TV now. Where's that Mai Tai?" That can get to you. But the waitresses at the same exact restaurant, the waitresses were getting screamed at by the same customers. So I think life is tough enough. I don't think that. I don't ever want to say that my privileged youth gave me any more problems. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it and would do it again.
Now, Margaret, you always played the foil to Jay North, who is Dennis the Menace. He was a very big star. You, his co-star. What was his life like? Was he tortured by it? I don't want to over-melodramatize this thing, but...
Jay had a tough time. He was one of the most sensitive kids that I've ever met in my life. Even as a child, I recognize that. And he also had the title role, and he was a lot of times the only child on the set. So Jay was in about every single shot that was made. And so he had a huge responsibility on his shoulder. And from what I witnessed, Jay did not have a very stable home life. And I think that contributed to whatever problems that he had as a child, why he wasn't able to take the tremendous positive from the experience and grow with it and run with it.
How about you?
I had a great time. Dana used my word. I think it was a real privilege. And
why didn't you stay in the business?
I enjoyed the years. Okay, I grew up in
a chiropractor now,
yeah.
as I mentioned. And a sore shoulder, Dr. Jeannie.
Okay, after the show. Well, I grew up in a show business family. My little brother was an actor under contract to Disney. My father was a singer. I was steeped in it. I did not know there was life outside of show business and never assumed I'd do anything else. Well, the letdown came. I floundered for a few years. But the one very positive thing about my career is it taught me the work ethic. It taught me how to lead a professional life, that if you want something, you do something and you get it. And I'd been exposed to chiropractic in Hollywood. Actors were always going to chiropractors in the 50s, making their own yogurt and carrot juice, so I had a very early exposure. And I looked into it, and the career was wide open for women. And again, from the positive aspect of my acting, it never occurred to me I couldn't do it. So I went forth and created a new life for myself.
It's quite a jump
taking the positive
acting.
Yeah, it was a real challenge. I was never a serious student before and found out that I had capacities I didn't know about.
Now, John, don't they always say you should never co-star with a baby or a dog?
Right. No, but everybody asks about Lassie, of course, and the adults made more mistakes than Lassie did, so I had a great time.
Let's take a look at a clip from Lassie.
Hey, Lassie. How you doing, girl? Glad to see your Uncle Steve? All right. Where's everybody anyway? Hey, Chris! Hello? Dee? Is anybody home? They leave you home alone all day? I got an idea. Why don't you and I take a nice long hike? I think I'm going to have a long talk with my brother about his taste in hats.
I'm curious, why didn't they make you Uncle Timmy and give the new kid some other name?
It's a long story. Well, for one thing, let me just say that Lassie is the 7th generation Lassie. All the Lassies are all directly related. The character, he's Uncle Steve McCulloch. Yes, he is Timmy grown up, but he was adopted by another family in the meantime.
Let me write this down here. I'm going to get confused.
Well, it's pretty convoluted.
What did you do between Lassies?
Well, I
heard you were selling real estate. Is that?
Yeah. Well, I quit Lassie after 7 years on the show. I had a 7-year contract, a 3-year option, and my parents were really good about it. They said, you know, you can go on for 3 more years, or you can quit now. It's up to you. And 14, puberty, you know, I was starting to look at girls, and I wanted to do other things. So I quit Lassie, and that's what ended the Martin family. I continued in the business. I did 3 movies, a movie with Robert Redford and Natalie Wood, This Property is Condemned, Kurt Russell movie, Computer Wore Tennis Shoes for Disney, some other television. Then I turned 18. It was time to go to college, and my father had always said, when it's time to go to school, it's best to leave home so you can experience that. So I said, okay, I can't do show business and go to school at the same time, so I left Hollywood at that time.
Did you want to leave show business?
Yes. Oh, no, it was definitely my... Yeah,
you didn't miss it during that time? You were trying to sell homes or shopping centers or whatever it was?
I started when I was 2.5 and worked continually up till I was 18. So it was always in my blood, always has been. And about 3-4 years ago, I pursued getting back into the business, mainly as like commercials, things like that. Found out that there was talks of a new Lassie series and got in touch with Al Burton, the producer, who, by the way, said, John Provost, he goes, I didn't even know you were still around. And I said, well, I am, let's talk. And so we talked, and here we are.
Danielle, the lovely little Steffi who broke Carol O'Connor's heart, or at least got that crust off him and All in the Family. I first saw her in Annie. She was you were the littlest orphan, weren't you?
Yeah, orphan, yeah.
And you got better reviews than Annie did, the original Annie. We'll show a clip from that. We'll talk to you. Well, your mom is here in the front row.
Yep.
The subject of stage motherhood came up. We'll ask her if she is one. We've got to take a break first. Stay with us. Star-crossed kids. Look at Danielle. You're 18 years old now, right?
What?
You're 18 now?
No, I'm 20.
20. You started in show business when you were 2?
3.
3. Okay, so you've had a 17-year career already.
Yeah.
Are you glad?
Yeah, well, definitely. You know, to me, it's like, you know, it's the best experience that I could possibly have had. You know, anything you do in life, you have a choice. You have to make a choice. Whether you do something, you're not doing something else. No matter what you do, you're always not doing something. And I really, really enjoyed this career.
Danny's trying to figure that out. He's got
No, it's like whatever you do in life, you're hosting this show, so you're not doing something else because you're hosting this show. So no matter what you do in life, you have a choice to make.
But was it your choice or was it your mom's choice?
It was my choice. I loved doing it. My mother definitely helped me. She saw I had a talent. She helped me. But I've always been I'm a Cancer and a very stubborn personality, and nobody can make me do anything I don't want to do, basically.
So at 3, you put on your tap shoes and hit the road?
That's it.
No, I've loved doing it.
I'm going to the Great White Way. I've gone.
You know, I've always loved, I've always craved attention. I love getting attention, and it was great. I got to meet some great teachers in my life.
But let me ask Mary, we work in a building, our office, where there are many auditions done, and lots of the auditions are for kids in commercials, and I see the parents dragging them, the kids are crying, and they, you know, his nose is running, or, you know, she just, I want to go home. And I really do see the parents go, come on, and whack them on the head in the elevator. I mean...
I would have whacked her back, though, see, that's the difference.
But at 3 years old, do you think that's the best thing for me?
I think it's a good experience. I think she learned a lot. She used her brains, and she always had attention. You know, some parents today, they just leave their kids at home, you know, when they go out to work, and they never get a parent's attention. So Danielle always had, you know, attention.
Yeah.
Are you a stage mom?
I'm a mother going through stages.
I think she's answered that before. Have any of you had any experience, I'm not asking you about your own moms, but with other child stars and their parents?
Yeah.
Tell us about Susan.
Well, just a lot of times I go on an audition, and the kids would be just as obnoxious as the parents, and the kids would be drooling other kids about, well, so how much have you worked lately?
Oh, yeah.
And the parents would be saying, don't hang out with him because he's worked more than you have, and all this horrible stuff. But you know what was weird is later on I got into horseback riding, and the horse show moms are just as bad as the movie moms. So I guess it's something that happens everywhere.
Just like baseball and
football. Yeah.
I mean, you know, my kid has to be first base,
right.
you know.
Education plays such an important part in the American roles of today, but like when you were in acting and stuff, was your education important to you, or did you think you would always be acting?
We had better education than a lot of kids. It was in California, it's the law that children have to go to school 3 hours a day, but that's private tutor type school.
You know, I was very, very fortunate because my tutor ended up being one of my best friends. As a matter of fact, I live next door to her now. It's like I developed a relationship with her that's grown through my whole life, and she really inspired me. I got to get a relationship to be inspired by a teacher, which is saying a lot.
Well, let's see how inspired you were in Annie. We actually have a clip, so let's run.
Annie?
Annie.
I'm afraid our Christmas party's off. We tried everywhere.
Restaurants, hotels, even Roseland.
They've been booked for weeks. There's just no place for us to have a Christmas party.
Oh, gee, no party. What a kick in the teeth.
Are you now at the age of 20? At the age of 20, are you at a crossroads? You're too old to play the kid parts. Are you too young to play the femme fatale?
You know, at any stage in your life, you go through that, I think. I've been fortunate. I've been working continuously throughout all these years. I've been fortunate. You know, I think there's a lot of misconception that's placed hard on people who are kids in the business when they grow up, because they say, didn't you have a tortured life or a troubled life? Wasn't it extra hard for you? And, you know, of course there's hard times in everyone's life, but if you look at anybody who has to grow up, it's like nobody likes being 15 years old, whatever they do in life.
But it is a little bit more difficult. I mean, granted, I mean, it's not as easy when you're 7 years old going to a job 8 hours.
From Channel 2 News, this is a special report.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ernie Avastis. Here's what's going on. A building collapse on Manhattan's Upper West Side. At least one person is reported dead. Several others are still trapped in the rubble. We have pictures for you right there. One person is in serious condition. Several others have been treated for injuries. Now, it happened on Broadway. That's between 73rd and 74th Streets, just within the past hour. The building is right next to the landmark Ansoni apartment building. To repeat, a building collapse on Manhattan's Upper West Side. We know that at least one person is reported dead. Several others are still trapped in the rubble. Now, we'll have the very latest on the situation coming up today on Channel 2 News beginning at 5 o'clock. We'll see you then.
After I started working, he cut it down to 1. But when I wanted a swimming pool and we moved to a new house, my dad said, you want a swimming pool, kid? You got a swimming pool. Right. You know, so... yeah, it's my money, and I was helping my family. I don't have any regrets at helping them, but when I was going through my divorce and through some
I was going to say, do you regret getting married? I'd save it for 2 minutes. I got to take a break anyway.
Okay.
Johnny, when last we spoke, you were going to tell us about your divorce. Did she marry you for your money, your stardom, and then leave you when you went into relative obscurity?
She's currently married to the man who gave me my bachelor party.
Danny, what are you laughing at? Your wife married you for a green card, I heard.
Absolutely, but I knew in advance. I knew in advance.
I don't know. Because of the situation as it is right now, and I was supposed to be in court today for something else, so, but the divorce has been finalized for a year. There's just some other problems, but I don't regret anything that I've ever done in my life because I've learned from everything, and I'm a damn great guy for going through all the problems that I have, and I can help other people who are going through similar problems and be able to make it through. I mean, life is tough as it is, but sometimes some of us get a little bit more poo-poo than others.
I understand that Danny is a martial arts expert. Is that so?
Yeah, that is true. When I was no longer making a living as Partridge, I made a living as a fighter for 3 years. I had 17 professional fights, went 16-1.
Out of all of you, was there any sibling rivalry, you know, being that you were the star? Like, how'd your brothers and sisters feel, being that you were in the spotlight, maybe they weren't?
Well, I was the youngest of a family of 3, and, you know, we never really had any problems. Both my brother and sister had little parts on Lassie in the schoolroom, whatever, and, you know, they just really didn't want to be in the business. Nobody in my family was in the business. I was the only one.
I'd like to know if these people would like to have their children go into an acting career.
Never.
Why do you say that?
It's difficult.
Well, if a kid came up and asked to be in the movies and wanted to be in the movies, that's one thing. But to have a parent decide for them that they think they have talent and they're going to enter, you know, into this, you know, rat race of a business. I myself, if my kid came to me and wanted to be in the business, I would say no. But if they pursued it and were persistent, I would then try to find him the best agent and get him the best photographer and be there to guide him through it. But I wouldn't suggest it.
Well, I have a suggestion for something I really think should happen in the industry. Whenever a child is being cast for a role, especially in a series where there's the possibility of a lot of fame, I think that the parents should be auditioned as well as the children. In order to prevent situations where the kid's coming from a dysfunctional family, the kid's not going to be very able to handle life in the first place, and the second place, you add fame on top of that, that's just too much.
Is it true, you're talking about the parents, in your case you've married now and now you're becoming a star all over again. Is it true, as I've heard, that your husband, your handsome husband there in the front row, is sometimes referred to by the last name of Olsen, your last name?
Yeah, that bothers me actually more than it does him. It puts the man in a difficult situation.
That happens though with child stars. You get confused. Somebody's come up to me recently and said, Mason Reese. Yeah, Mason Reese. Thank you so much.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah.
They call me Danny Bonaduce every once in a while.
Hey, they called me Rodney Allen.
They call me Buffy and think I'm dead.
Buffy?
Yeah, well, everybody thinks I'm dead, too. I'm not.
Well, both of them had the pigtails.
Yeah.
She's definitely not dead, ladies and gentlemen. I can attest to that, as her husband can. We'll talk to him in a process. Stay with us. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Fame hits and runs our focus. We'll be right back. Star-crossed kids.
If I were to see any of you walking down the street, like outside on Broadway, I wouldn't have known who any of you were. How does it really feel inside for people not to really stop and go, hey, are you this one? I really wouldn't know who any of you were, and I
never liked it to begin with when they stopped me, so it doesn't bother me, you know.
You seem to like the attention, just like you said yourself.
Well, I love attention.
Your mother said you like attention, you was always noticed. I wouldn't have noticed you at all if I saw you.
Oh, go easy on
No, I don't mean it like, no, I don't know. You're very pretty. I don't mean it like that.
No, I'm not offended, don't worry.
You recognize it next time.
I never liked the part of like getting stopped when you're eating. I never liked that whole part, so it doesn't bother me.
I don't think anybody on this panel has like a giant ego that needs to be fed like that. You know, we all have our own thing, and we all know what we've wanted to do, and we've achieved quite a bit. But I prefer not to be recognized. You know, I enjoy that. I like just, you know, being able to walk through an airport, get on a plane, sit down, and if a conversation should fire up and someone recognizes you, fine. But it's not a problem.
But it is nice to get certain seats, certain places sometimes.
No, I like to be recognized.
I will admit that if somebody recognizes me, yeah, and you can sit here, thank you. You know, I mean, come on.
Do I owe you money? No, it's not me.
I grew up in a family of 5, and I was the youngest, and I just feel as though I've grown up with all of you, you know, through the years because of seeing you on TV and things like that, and I just really like to thank you for adding something to my childhood that I can remember.
Thank you.
Hi, for Danny.
Yes, ma'am.
He amazes me because I always looked to him as an idol, the way he was.
Thank you.
Funny. He did things that my brother would do. Always into things, and that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
How do you feel, Danny, about Susan Day's success? Unlike David Cassidy, Susan Day has gone on L.A. Law. She's really done very well as an adult. How do you feel about that?
I appreciate her success. I've seen her. I remember when she first started doing movies after the Partridge family, she had this propensity for taking her clothes off in all her films. But now to see her on television,
She's there on the right. Thinking of Looker, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Looker and.
Sure you are.
I bet you are. Nowadays, it kind of looks like a National Geographic film. But when I see her on L.A. Law, I'm proud of her. I don't know why I haven't been on L.A. Law yet, and Susan, when I get in touch...
But she hasn't been on Hot 106 in Philadelphia.
No, we keep trying.
And refuses to do so.
Butch, I think you said that you stumbled into the business. Was that like it with all of you? It was luck, or did you have to work for it to get started?
Dr. Jeannie?
Well, we literally had a knock on the door. We lived in back of the studios where they filmed Lassie. And
we used to hang out together.
Right, before Dennis the Menace. And one day there was a knock on the door. It was a secretary that said, we need a small child right now on the Lassie set, and we spotted your son. Can he come over to the set? And my father said, sure. He was a singer. I came from a theatrical family. And that's how we got started. The whole family tromped on over to the set, and we became friends with John and his mother. And when they needed extras, they would call my brother and myself, and then we got an agent, and things went from there. But it was literally the knock on the door.
Let's take a look at a clip from Dennis the Menace. See Dennis and Margaret.
I mean, I get to clean the whole house, just the downstairs. Goodness knows, there's enough to do right here. Everything is simply filthy. Where's the dishwasher? She isn't bad. Silly, I mean the electric one. The only dishwasher we got in this house is good old Mom. Well, when you get a raise, that's the first thing we're going to buy. There, baby. Go to your daddy. Say that again or I'll bop you.
Star-Crossed Kids. We'll be right back. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like tickets to be in our studio audience, I hope you'll write us at Geraldo Tickets, Post Office Box 684, New York, New York, 10108. Or give us a call. The number 212-265-1283. We will be back in a flash. Stay tuned. We talked briefly about, Danny, your involvement with drugs, and I think really the profound aspect or the sadness or the danger in that kind of get lost in wisecracking. I just want to get back to you, but let me jump, because I want to find out how the National Enquirer came to bail you out of prison. But I want to jump to Butch, whose story and drug involvement was printed in People magazine.
Yeah, and put it out of text, and this is a good chance for me to explain what happened.
Okay, what happened? How badly involved were you?
I was no angel, no doubt about it, and through the 20s, when I was in my 20s, I was an excitable boy, and I went around and partied very hard with a lot of friends. But
you're talking about cocaine?
Yeah, mostly pot and cocaine. Yeah, that was about it. And alcohol. It was just easily available, and actually, I was doing records back then, and I kind of got into it through the record industry. Is how I entered it. But this guy came to Austin and spent 48 hours with me, and we discussed
Austin, Texas, where you moved.
Austin, Texas, where I live, and we discussed this over a 2-day period. And I basically told him about my past to show him where I was currently, and he took it out of context and basically wrote that I'm a drug addict and caused me a lot of grief and harm in my family, and my grandparents are calling me, and this just isn't right. And I learned a valuable lesson. I'll never let my guard down again to a print journalist, because they take 8 hours of tape home with them.
Well, that's another story.
Yeah.
Did the pressure of your acting have anything to do with it?
No, none whatsoever. I would have found a way to do that and live that lifestyle anyway.
Why did the National Enquirer bail you out of jail?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I have no excuses. I was busted dead to rights.
What did they catch you with?
They caught me with cocaine. they, what happened was I was sitting in the Beverly Hills police station, which is, if you're going to go to jail, Beverly Hills is the place to do it.
Yeah, that's what Zsa Zsa said.
Yeah,
right.
their idea of the third degree is, hey, who does your hair? So I was sitting there, and they said, the jailer came in and said, okay, Bonaduce, you're out. And I said, I didn't call anybody. I don't want to go out. And he said, no, the National Enquirer has paid your bail. I said, forget it. I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here. And they said, you got to go or you're going to go to county jail where, you know, they keep real criminals like Todd Bridges. And I said,
Todd Bridges from different... He had a tough time.
The guy's a real-life criminal, and that's where they keep him.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Come on, he was no more a criminal than you were. Why?
I disagree, but that's another story. Anyway, so I didn't want to go, so I went out, and the National Enquirer, on my way out, I didn't want to talk to them, so I just said, is it true to you have all that cocaine? And all I said was, what would I be doing with cocaine? I'm broke. And I walked out, and they wrote the story about Danny Partridge, dead broke and starving. So,
all right, this is Dr. Paul Reisch. He's the chairman of the drama department at the High School of Performing Arts here in New York. It is masked in humor, these stories, but you have heard enough pathos through the jokes, etc. Is it an extraordinary amount of pressure? Is the life so artificial and so vastly different from a normal kid's that they are prone to slip more or hurt themselves more?
Oh, sure. There are a lot of pressures on these kids, and we could really talk about this. But I think these people are very lucky in one way, because in the States, you know, we like kittens, but we don't like them to grow up and to be cats. And I think that when these people were child artists, child stars, we love them. And we won't forgive you for growing up. It's really too bad that you got older, and we'll punish you for it. Now, these people have done very well. My kids at Performing Arts will do very well. The people you showed who are the drug overdoses, whatever they were, those are people who grew into adults, and we said, we don't want you anymore. But then why are we surprised about it? We do the same thing with old people. We don't forgive them for growing old. Yeah. We don't forgive a lot of people for doing things which are very natural. Instead of our audiences here taking these people as adult artists.
What about the multitudes, though, that aren't in television that have drug overdoses and drug problems? Yeah. I don't think it's indicative of television at all.
No, I don't think it's indicative of TV, but I think it's indicative of a kid who has had some success, and there's no way you can say to me that the success does not impact on you in one way
I'd like to say one thing regarding, I remember it almost helped me being in the business growing up not to get into drugs in my case, because I saw a lot of people doing drugs and how it was hurting them, peers of my older people, like in their teens when I was a kid. I did a commercial called Get High on Yourself. It was a national campaign. And when we were doing that commercial, I remember being a little kid, they didn't think I was watching or knowing. I saw the adults who were in this commercial in their back room doing drugs.
And it amazed cocaine while doing the public service announcement.
And I thought to myself, this is something, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I've always been against hypocrisy.
Can I enter in that? I don't think we're talking so much about the drugs. You're right about that. But I think when you've been in the spotlight and people start saying to you, no more spotlight, you can take drugs, you can overeat, you can drink, you can become a bicycle maniac. There are lots of ways where a young artist, when they're no longer young, are going to work it out.
Got to take a break. Stay with us. Grandpa Munster has the last word. Al Lewis. After this, stay with us.
Good evening. Coming up tonight on Channel 2 News, a late-breaking story of a landmark building falls to pieces on Broadway. At least one person is killed. Also, is New York's Archbishop at the front line to take a new AIDS vaccine.
And the Trump divorce, a surprise decision involving the other woman. And also tonight, the latest on a young boy set on fire as the teen who allegedly did it goes to court. And a one-time teen boy wonder of the Partridge family arrested on crack charges.
Channel 2 News is coming up.
Who sings the song, Mother, Don't Let Your Baby Grow Up to Be Cowboys?
Willie Nelson, I believe.
All right, Willie. Now, Al, should they let the mothers let their babies grow up to be actors?
Why not? Why not? If they have the propensity and the desire and the passion, if they have, once they stop having it, go into real estate, become a DJ. I mean, open up a boutique, whatever. Look, And as far as...
You opened up a restaurant, right?
That's right. I opened up a restaurant. But let me tell you something. As far as it depends on what is in you. There was a period when you weren't that famous. Do you remember that? Right?
Stealing hubcaps, as a matter of fact.
Right. At moving cars at 32 miles.
I was very good at it. Yeah.
Right, I know. You're in the Guinness Book of Records. I know that. No, but I'm saying is it's what in you. In your spine, you had a passion and a desire to do what you felt you could do best. Very few kids have that. As kids, we shouldn't expect them to have it. They're cute, they're adorable, they're charming. But when they grow up, the parents have to let go, cut the umbilical cord. I mean, let him be a chiropractor.
Butch, you want to say hello to your grandpa again?
Grandpa.
And thank you so much. Go ahead.
And learn how to type.
And learn how to type.
For all the
You're really great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susan. Dr. Jeannie.
We have the center stage report nonetheless. Actor Danny Bonaduce, best known for his role on TV's The Partridge Family, is back in Philadelphia today after spending time in a Florida jail on charges of drug possession. Bonaduce, who is currently working as a late-night disc jockey for the Philadelphia station WEGX, was arrested in Florida on Friday during a crack bust at a housing project. Ironically, Bonaduce was featured in a pre-taped segment for today's Geraldo, and he talked about life after TV.
For a while, I was a real confused kid. A lot of people think you do a television show, you immediately start taking drugs, you go to jail. Wait a second, I did that.
You did both those things?
Yeah, I did.
Seriously?
Yeah, I did.
The management at WEGX radio station said today they want to talk to Danny and hear his side of the story. Until then, they say they plan to keep him off the air in Philadelphia.